been in the first place, which is to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah, I find Americans want to understand it. You know, was it a hate crime against gays? Or was it an act of terrorism that was carried out in a place that he saw as convenient,
right?
That he was familiar with? You know, all this, we have yet to fill in answers on this, sir.
Well, again, this is a very, very serious event that happened in Orlando. The investigation is ongoing. I think the department rightly is careful about making statements before they have all of the information. They don't want to provide anything that's misleading. People may come back afterwards and say, well, you said this in the beginning, now it's not true. And so I think the department's being very, very careful and thorough here. And I'm not going to second guess the department in terms of holding back information as the investigation is ongoing.
Okay, quickly, Michael Mukasey, former AG himself, he had an opinion on this with Greta.
If her conduct and her statements were the only manifestation of the administration's position, you could sort of dismiss it as almost harmless psychobabble. But unfortunately, it's not.
What he says is that they're trying to white out Islam. Are they?
Well, I think the administration, has a history of trying to do so, given the president's reluctance to talk about radical Islam. Whether or not that was a motivation here, I think it's a legitimate question, given the fact that just hours after they laid out these reasons why they could not why they redacted the information, they then came back and released it in the face of this overwhelming criticism. So, from my perspective, as an American citizen, it is something that I'm concerned about. I don't understand the reluctance of the administration to be very open and candid about the fact that we do have some Islamic extremists that are responsible for these terrorist attacks.
Well, one more point. Mukasey went on to say there was no law enforcement justification for editing the transcripts.
Again, I don't know. Without knowing all the facts in relation to the investigation, I'm not prepared to make that statement. But again, the fact that just a few hours afterwards they went ahead and released the full transcript calls into question their initial rationale that they were redacting this information for law enforcement purposes.
Alberto Gonzalez, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you trying to answer these questions. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Alberto Gonzalez there from Belmont. Thanks.
So the person who actually installed Hillary Clinton's private email server at her home was questioned quite a bit yesterday, except he refused to answer anything in a closed-door deposition. He invoked the Fifth more than 125 times, reading that Fifth off of an index card. We're going to talk to the attorney who was in the room and took that deposition coming up. And then there's this.
Right there. In the striped shirt.
Right there. You, come to me.
Passenger forcing an unexpected